especially for people that don't train. They always want stand-up fights.
True.
So how did you wind up going over to Myanmar?
So okay, so just again, I watched a Vice documentary on prison fight. Okay, look at that.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So the prison fight thing, that's again it's for in Thailand. For those who don't know, it's sanctioned by the Thai Department of Correction, and they didn't do. I was on the last one ever in 2014, and basically, it's inmates fighting foreigners, and if the inmate wins, the sentence is reduced.
Whoa!
Yeah, have you heard about this?
No.
Okay, prison fight. Yeah, I did that, and we were so basically we go into maximum security prison outside of Bangkok, maximum security prison. And it's like a movie, man. Like they made a movie actually about it recently. I was on the real deal. Yeah. And I was with my Turkish friend. We go there. They take away our phones. We go to that big metal door. We go underneath. I have goosebumps talking about it. And then we see 800 inmates. They're all there for either rape, gang rape, murder, drug trafficking, and they're all.
And they can get their sentence reduced if they win a fight.
Yeah.
What if they win 2 fights?
One guy actually, it was on Showtime. They did a documentary on Showtime, and he actually won the finale. He won against an American, and he got released.
A murderer?
He won. He was he actually. What I heard. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he went. He was in a bar, and somebody talked about his girlfriend or touched his girlfriend. He went back. He took a knife and stabbed the guy in the neck, and he got in prison for that, for murder, basically.
And he got out for fighting well.
Fighting very well.
Holy shit! Don't go to that part of the world with a squeamish stomach.
Fudge. So he was, but actually those guys, they do some mistakes, but they were fighting in Lumpini. They were like high level guys, you know.
Really?
Yeah, maybe not like all champions, but they were like, you know,
they knew how to fight.
100 fights and up.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
So I get a guy who was there for trafficking methamphetamine, meth.
Oh.
It was like 10 years. And basically, me, actually, maybe you know Anvar Bozanarov, he fights in Glory. And he was actually, he fought for the belt against, he actually lost the belt recently. But and we were, me and him at the time, he was not in Glory at the time. We fought there. And only, me and another Iranian won the prison fight.
And what are the rules?
So it's a 3-round fight. Muay Thai rules with gloves with big pillows, 8 ounce. So at the time, again, my goal was always to go to Myanmar. So look at that. So basically, after this, I go back to Canada, and I'm like, my head is like, I don't want to be in -4 degrees Celsius, and minus 20 in Celsius. So I'm like, how can I go back to Asia? And so I go back. I save money. I go back, and then. I'm losing my thoughts. Basically, when I get that situation with Irina, right? We're stressing for money. We're stressing for the future. I called up the prison fight promoter, and at the time I said, "You have a fight for me? Like I need to get money. I need to." He said, "Well, I don't promote Muay Thai anymore. I promote Litué. You want to fight in Litué?" I'm like, "Yes, that's my. I've always wanted to do this." So he's like, "Well." If you want, I have this guy, is Tutu, Tootoo. He's undefeated champ in Litué rules, 36
his name
fights.
Is Tutu?
Tutu.
Wow.
That's his real name.
He was undefeated in how many fights?
36 fights. That means it's all KO, right? Because traditional Litué, it's KO only to win. We forgot to say that.
Really?
There's no point system.
No points?
No.
How many rounds?
5 rounds.
So what happens if you go 5 rounds
Draw.
and nobody... Whoa.
Both
Even
arms.
if you're fucking the dude up.
That's what happened.
Wow.
So so basically I said, I don't care, let's fight. I want it because it's my dream. So he's like, well, how many fights you have? Well, I have 10 Muay Thai fights. He's, well, Muay Thai? Well, he's 50 fights in Litué and you have 10 fights in Muay Thai. Well, let me do something. He lied on my record. He said I have 40 fights. Okay. And then I go over there. I'm like, I don't care. Because my coach, Sifu Patrick, and we were always eye gouging and like practicing. That's the mentality of it, like aggressivity, like fish hooking in the clinch or in the grappling.
Can you do that in Leadway?
No.
No.
But, I mean, you could probably fish hook if probably.
Probably?
I mean, they don't care really.
Really?
Yeah. But as long as eye pokes,
Right.
So anyway, so I was always ready for that. I wanted that aggressive fights. So I go to the fight and some kind of energy comes in my body. I don't know. I don't believe in that stuff, but like I just disfigured him. Like he didn't touch me much. I was using my push kick to the thighs. I was keeping my distance, and then I went inside. I used my elbows, and if you see the fight, he really puffed up. Like it was pretty cool. And then that was my first fight, and the crowd They were throwing bottles a little bit, but they're
Why were they throwing bottles? Because he's their champion.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then they quickly saw that I did my likamun, which is the challenge gesture, very old challenge gesture, and they loved it. So they started.
How does that work?
So basically, before the fight, you put your arm like this, and you
So explain to people that are just listening. You put one arm under your armpit.
So for those at home, so you put your left arm under your armpit and the other arm in the air, and you hit with your cupped hand on the triangle shaped of your elbow, and you 3 times. That actually gives me more goosebumps because that's I triggered that to the fight, right? And this is a very old gesture from Myanmar, from the Burmese army back in the days when they were in the trenches and they were fighting enemies. You challenge with honor and courage your opponents, and you do that, and that simulates the wing of an eagle. And you
so they saw you do that, and they got fired up. Because you understand the rituals.
Yes, because some of the times guys were coming from other disciplines, other country, and they were putting their white crew. They were doing a bunch of other things.
Okay.
I embraced the culture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they liked it. It's okay because at first they wanted another tall white dude to get fucked by their guys.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like I was sent there to lose.
Yeah.
And I get a call from this Japanese diplomat, and he invites me to lunch. I said, great. We meet at a place on Capitol Hill. And I remember that lunch very well. I remember we talked about Israeli elections, we talked about Turkish elections, and we talked about the Arab-Israeli peace process. And at the end of the lunch, he says to me, and I should add, his English was so bad that we had to do the lunch in Arabic. So he said, what's next for you? And I said, well, I think I'm going to resign soon. I promised Senator Kerry I'd give him 2 years. It's been 2.5. I have 5 kids, and I really need to make some money and put my kids through college. And he goes, oh, no, don't do that. If you give me information, I can give you money. And I said, what the fuck is wrong with you? You have any idea how many times I've made that pitch? Shame on you, cold pitching me like that. And I got up indignantly, and I walked out. And I walked, I mean directly without stopping, to the office of the Senate security officer. And I knocked on the door. I went in. I said, hey, I was just pitched by a foreign intelligence officer. And he goes, was it that damn Russian again? And I said, no, it was Japanese. He goes, Japanese? I said, I know, right? He goes, well, no, sometimes they poke around looking for trade information. I said, this didn't have anything to do with trade information. I don't think. I don't know. We didn't even get that far. He said, okay, do me a favor. He said, I've got a standalone computer here that's not connected to the internet. Write it up as a memo, and I'm going to courier it over to the FBI. So I sat there and I wrote the whole thing, blow by blow. The next day he calls me, and he says, 2 FBI agents are going to come up and talk to you. And I said, okay. So they come up. I recount the whole lunch, and they said, all right, here's what we want you to do. We want you to call him back, invite him to lunch, and then try to get him to tell you exactly what information he wants and how much he's willing to pay for it. And I said, because I'm a patriot, I said, you want me to wear a wire? And they said, no, we're going to be at the next table. We're going to listen to everything. I said, but he only speaks Arabic. That's okay. We got a guy who speaks Arabic. Don't worry. I said, all right. So I call him. I invite him to lunch. We go to lunch, do the whole thing. But before the lunch, right before the lunch, they called and they said, operation came up. Just write us another memo. Do the lunch and write us another memo. I said, fine. So I write another memo. They asked me to do it a 3rd time, a 4th time, and a 5th time. The 5th time, he says to me, I have great news. He said, I got my dream job. I've been promoted, and I'm going to be the deputy ambassador in Cairo. And I said, congratulations. I shook his hand, never saw him again. So I've written all this to the FBI. One day in January of 2012, so I've been out of the Senate for about 9 months, the FBI calls. And I look at my cell phone, it says Federal Bureau of Investigation. I was like, I wonder what that's all about. So I answer, and they said, hey, you remember that thing you helped us out with a year ago? And I said, yeah. And they said, we've got a similar situation, and we need your help. And again, because I'm a patriot, I said, anything for the FBI. I kick myself now for saying it. I said, anything for the FBI. what do you want me to do? They said, come down to the Washington field office Thursday morning at 10. I said, done. I go down there the next Thursday, and they're waiting for me at the entrance, which I thought was odd. And we go up to a conference room, and they said, we're both cleared, SI, TK, Gamma, and then there were 2 compartments above top secret that I was cleared for that they said they were cleared for. And so if the conversation necessitated it, we could go into that area. So they said, well, before we start, just wanted to ask you, just read your book. It was great. I loved it. Hey, what about this that you said in your book? And I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, it was a cool story. What about this other thing? Yeah, I had fun. I said, it was kind of hard. It took me 9 months to write the book, 22 months to get it cleared. Oh, yeah, you got it cleared. Yeah, of course I got it cleared. 22 months it took me to get it cleared. I'm thinking, what an odd question. Then they start asking me about something called the Sam Adams Project. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. And then the bad cop of the 2 says, we know you've been giving information to the Guantanamo defense attorneys. I said, what are you talking about? And then I said, wait a minute. Are you investigating me? And they said, yeah, and we're raiding your house right now as we speak. And I said, thank God. I said, I want to speak to my attorney right now. That was the only reason that they didn't arrest me. And one of the things that I learned, and this became painfully evident when they started arresting January 6th people, was the FBI in Washington likes to make its arrests on Thursdays because there are no federal arraignments on Friday. So you're in the DC jail Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, getting the shit beaten out of you. And then they arraign you on Monday. And then you want to make a deal just so you don't ever have to go inside that prison again. But because I asked to see my attorney, they let me go. So I called the attorney as soon as I got out of the office. Actually, when I was walking out, one of them went over to, I didn't know it at the time, but it was Peter Strzok. And Peter Strzok says, tell me he implicated himself. And the guy said, not really, no. We have to let him go. And so I grabbed my cell phone and I left, went to the attorney's office. They had already called my attorney and said they were charging me with espionage. I hadn't committed espionage. They knew I hadn't committed espionage. And in fact, since then, I'm fast forwarding a lot, 3 FBI agents have reached out to me. Well, 2 to my attorneys. 1 reached out to me directly to apologize, saying that this came from the top. They thought it was a BS case. They were sorry they were involved, but there was nothing they could do. One guy reached out to me through eBay, of all things, like to try to cover up the trail. He's like, listen, I've been losing sleep over this for the last 13 years. I just wanted to tell you how sorry I am. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I hope you feel better. My whole life fell apart. But I'm glad you got that off your chest. So it became a matter of just survival after that. You know, you have to take it seriously. I was facing 45 years in prison. And then when the Justice Department made a request for a proffer meeting, the proffer meeting is they'll give you a little idea of what they have against you, and then they make an offer. You can take it or leave it. And they offered me 45 years. And I said, I'm not doing 45 minutes. I didn't do anything wrong. And this woman, she became Deputy Attorney General for the criminal division under Biden. She said, take this deal, Mr. Kiriakou, and you may live to meet your grandchildren.
Oh, my God.
Oh, it was... I went home that night, and I went home. I'm ashamed to even say it. That night, we put the kids to bed. And my wife and I were watching TV, and she said, come on, let's go to bed. And I said, I can't sleep. There's no way I'm going to be able to sleep. And she said, no, come on, let's go to bed. She knew I was going to go down into the garage, turn the car on, and just lay across the back seat. And she said, no, come on. You need to try to get some sleep. And she saved me that night. But 45 years? And so they waited 10 months before they were even willing to engage in a conversation. And then they offered 10 years on a Monday. On Wednesday, they offered 8. And on Friday, they offered 5. My lead attorney was this legendary guy named Plato Kacharis. And Plato said, I've been a criminal defense attorney in this city for 52 years. And this is the first time I've ever seen them come down in time. He said, usually they offer you 10, you say no, the next offer's 15, then the next offer's 20. I said, why are they coming down in time? He said, because they have a shit case and they know it's shit. And that's why we're going to go to trial and we're going to win this thing. I said, great. Well, they stayed at 5. And then they came back and they said, 3.5. And I said, I'm going to trial. I'm going to win this thing. Turned out at the time, my best friend, his wife, had an uncle who was O.J. Simpson's jury consultant. And she called him for me and she said, hey, my friend John, he's in this situation. He's like, yeah, I read about this in the papers. He could use your help. He came up, didn't charge me a cent. He came up to Washington. We got him a security clearance, and which was another thing. We asked for a security clearance, and then the Justice Department called and said, the White House said Kiriaku's attorneys have enough security clearances. And I said, who at the White House said we have enough security clearances? Well, they had to tell us that it was John Brennan. No more attorneys for Kiriaku. Fisher cut bait. We're like, it's not up to John Brennan to decide if I have enough attorneys. Yeah, they have an unlimited number of attorneys, an unlimited budget. As it turned out, they spent $6 million to put me in prison. Was society really better off spending $6 million to put me in a low security prison for 23 months? So in the end, they said, best and final offer, 30 months, you do 23. Well, I was only the second American who had ever been charged with this crime of violating the Intelligence Identities Protection Act of 1982. The only other person that was charged with it was a woman named Sharon Scranage. She was a CIA secretary in Ghana in the 80s. And she was having an affair with a member of Ghana's intelligence service. And in the course of pillow talk, she revealed the names of all of the CIA officers in the station and the names of the sources they were running. And so the Ghanaians executed these guys.
Oh, my God.
She got 9 months in prison. 9 months. And they offer me 45 years for blowing the whistle on the torture program. So my wife and I stayed up all night, literally all night. And because Sharon Scranage had taken a plea, there was literally no case law. So what we found several things. We found several articles from the Harvard Law Review saying this law is unconstitutional. It violates the First Amendment, and it is prior restraint, right? Like it tells you in advance you can't say X, Y, and Z. But because there was no case law, you couldn't challenge it in court. And I said, well, can't we just appeal the charge and maybe, all the way up to the Supreme Court? And they said, yeah, we can do that post-conviction. And then you're going to be 45 years waiting and hoping that the Supreme Court does the right thing. We can't do that. So I decided by 6 a.m., I'm going to turn it down. I believed in my heart I hadn't done anything right. This was political. It was a vendetta by John Brennan. And Obama, by all accounts, I had friends, of course, who were still working at the agency and working at the CIA or at the White House, and they said that Obama had this Nixonian obsession with national security leaks, and it's because that came from Brennan. Obama was a senator for 2 years. He didn't have any experience doing anything, so he did what John Brennan told him to do. And Brennan said, "You got to crack down on these leaks. They do nothing but embarrass us." So I decided I'm going to turn it down. 6 a.m., I send an email to my attorneys. I had 11 attorneys. I was paying half of them, 5 of them. And then one of them writes back and says, "Put on a pot of coffee. We'll be at the house by 7." So they come to my house. The four main ones came to the house. Plato was the first one in. Now imagine this, like 80-year-old, 6'2", 280-pound, mean old man. He comes in, and I said, "Good morning, Plato." And he said, "You stupid son of a bitch, take the deal." Like that. I said, "Take the deal? You're the one that told me not to take the deal. You're the one who told me we're going to go to trial and win this thing." And he says, "I only told you that to keep your spirits up."
Oh, God.
And then the second one, his partner, Bob Trout, a sweet gentleman, a Southern gentleman. He says, "If you were my own brother, I would beg you to take this deal." And I'm like, now what do I do? And then the third, who is the guy, Mark McDougall, one of the best attorneys I've ever encountered in my life. And the one that I liked and respected the most out of all of them. I liked all of them and respected all of them, but I felt a connection to this guy. He pulls me aside. He was a little bit angry, and he said, "You know what your problem is? Your problem is you think this is about justice. And it's not about justice. It's about mitigating damage. Take the deal." And I looked at my wife. And she's just like, "What are we going to do?" So I took the deal. And I got 2.5 years in prison. And they made me do every single day of it.
Go dig up those old tweets and want to find out things that you said, or and this, it is similar to that feeling of watching a public execution,
Right.
like hang him.
And everyone's so excited for it to happen. Like they pile on.
Yeah.
They'll go on your Instagram, leave tons and tons of like terrible comments or
you're getting canceled.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, good. Did you really feel, does that make your day better?
What are you making a face for, Jamie? What's going on?
I just found something dark as you guys were talking about this.
About hamsters eating their
The
kids?
last public hanging, there was like a huge media event. Like 20,000 people traveled to Kentucky to watch it happen. There's
To see a white woman hang a black man.
She was the local sheriff, and she didn't go through with it because of probably the attention. So some eager volunteers did it. And while this was all going on, there's like a media circus. People were eating hot dogs, drinking lemonade, camping out overnight.
Oh my God.
It was a huge event, and it was 1936.
Oh boy.
What did they say he did?
That's what I was looking for before.
It said up there, you scroll up, it said he was wanted for the rape of a 70-year-old woman. That was the woman. Go scroll up, a little higher, a little higher, a little higher.
I think he was popping. There it is. Okay.
Yeah, see, Bethesda had confessed to the rape and murder of a 70-year-old Lishy Edwards, a capital crime under Kentucky law, and one that fell upon the local sheriff to punish. "I could appoint the deputy sheriff to deputize any citizen to spring the trap," Thompson told reporters as she stoically resigned herself to the role. "But to do that would inflict an unpleasant job upon someone else." So she decided this disgusting job, she was going to do it, and then decided not to.
Yeah, and she did.
the first female executioner.
Wow.
And then she couldn't do it. Not a good look for women.
The problem with those, anything post slavery, post 1865, there were so many crimes that people were arrested for that were nothing, where men were being forced to do labor. So what would happen was, because of the fact that slavery was now abolished, these men would be loitering, right?
Mm-hmm.
People didn't know what the fuck to do. Like, imagine you're a slave your whole life. You grew up a slave, and then all of a sudden you're free. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What do I do? Well, they would just arrest you,
Yeah.
and then make you do hard labor in jail for nothing.
Yeah, they essentially figured out how to make slavery legal again.
And they did it for decades.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
did it
they
for
still
decades.
sort of do it today.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, when you make a guy work in jail for $1 a day, whatever the fuck they pay, how is that not slavery?
Yeah.
Are you giving him gruel? What are you giving him? White bread and fucking shitty meatloaf? What are you feeding him?
It's one of those things where I'm like, we get so mad at like so a lot of the current stuff that's happening with like what we're supposed to be saying, like the right pronouns to use, all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, okay, I'll try to say the right pronouns. That's a pretty easy fix. How about we go back and like kind of correct some of this 400 years of slavery and oppression that we did for black people? Oh, is it because it's harder to do?
Yeah,
like, it's not a
pronouns are easy.
solvable problem.
They, them is easy.
Yeah.
Captain Pink Hair.
Yeah.
I think the real problem is these communities they've never recovered. Like places like Baltimore, there's certain communities that have been the same forever. And Southside Chicago is another one, right? There's these communities that they're riddled with crime and drugs, and so many people in and out of jail, and this constant recidivism rate.
Yeah.
You grow up there, you're in that system. Like they would have to.
You're maybe in a terrible public
Yes.
school.
Oh,
like
for sure.
You have to work
gangs
as early
everywhere,
as you can.
drugs. I mean, the people that are heroes in your neighborhood are drug dealers. So how do you fix that? Boy, there's no effort put to that in terms of like a systematic national effort on the federal level to step in and do something to these communities and do it on a scale that we do in other countries when we bomb the fuck out of them.
Right. And also just admit that we're racist. Like when after apartheid happened, they had like a day, there was a couple days of reckoning or whatever it was called, where everyone went up and they were like, these are the things I did.
Really?
Yeah. These are the things I did. These are like the laws I broke. And it was like this like terrible, like cathartic, admit to your racism. And then let's try to heal after that. And then we're all just like, no, we're not racist. And I'm like, we're pretty racist.
Well, some people are racist, but what's racist is that these communities suffered under a system that was completely imposed because of racism.
Right.
In the 1800s, and then in the early 1900s, and during the civil rights era. This is all, I mean, that there's no denying that it's the echoes of at least ancient racism that needs to be somehow or another addressed. But I mean, how do you address that? Like some people want reparations, and like the idea of it makes sense, right? Clearly someone profited, right? There are to this day, there's corporations, you can trace their money back to slavery.
Right.
Right? Well, it seems like they should pay something.
Yeah, they should pay a little bit.
How did you guys get rich? Like, if you look at a giant plantation and they used to have slaves and they profited off those slaves, and that plantation is somehow or another still in operation today.
Right.
I don't know if that's the case, but if it was, like, where'd you get your money?
Yeah.
What'd you do? Like,
and then how do you go back giving it back to people?
How do you give it back? Who do you give it back to?
Yeah.
Do you give it back to the ancestors of the people who were slaves? And the problem is, like, if you give people money, I don't think it fixes the problem. I think to fix the problem, there has to be some sort of, I mean, we've beaten this horse to death on the show, unfortunately. And I don't have any solutions. No one ever has one. I don't know what it would be, but I think there has to be some way to clean up communities, and I don't know how you would do that. I mean, I have no idea. How do you go to a place like Southside Chicago has more murders than Afghanistan? I mean, it's bad there. It's fucking bad. Am I making that up? I'm not making that up. I don't think so.
I think you're right. But that's the thing. It's like this is such like an unsolvable problem, and the stuff that people go after on Twitter, like the social justice stuff, is so easy to do. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, of course that's what you're going to like. You can have a hard day or whatever shitty job you have, and then you come home, you see someone got mad at something or did something wrong, and you get to be like, yeah, this person, you're canceled. Yeah. And then you close your computer or whatever, or you watch people retweet it, and you're like, I did do something today.
I'm an activist.
Yeah, I'm an activist.
You're asking me about, we're back, yeah. You're asking me about, why I get attracted to these kind of subjects. And they don't seem attractive on the surface, but when the more you get into them, the more they can be exciting. So I am a dramatist at heart. That is what I do best, which is to dramatize situations, take something and bring it to life. So taking the Kennedy murder was extremely challenging, and I knew it could work. I felt like it could work, and it was a surprise hit, like Platoon. I mean, basically, how can you take this? War is boring. There's a lot of details. I was in 4 different units, time, not much happens, and then suddenly things happen. It's not that easy to make it happen in a movie space. So I took 2 different sergeants from 2 different units, and I imagined what would they be like if they were in the same unit. They would clash. One would be the law and order guy, as a guy who believed in what he was doing and he fought it viciously. And the other guy is the guy who was who was a rebel, who was a bit like my own character. My father was much of a law and order guy. My mother was very much a rebel. And I kind of put that into this conflict because I saw it in every platoon. There was people who were like doing marijuana, people who were doing alcohol. You know, there was that split kind of. And a lot of the black guys I hung out with were doing marijuana, and they were doing music. The music was unbelievable. They were, but they had a different kind of music than the Okie music. So it was all the split in these platoons. I saw it constantly, black, white, and country, city sensibilities. Also, a very important point is that I found over time that the law and order guys often were the most racist in terms of coming down on the Vietnamese civilians, because we did jungle duty, but we also did a lot of civilian villages, search and whatever, search them. We find stores, weapons, this, that. Not necessarily they were cooperating, but sometimes they were forced to. But a lot of guys screwed with them, you know, didn't like the Vietnamese at all, which was not the black problem. That was, you know, that was more of it was a white problem. So I felt there was a lot of that going on, and I couldn't, that was not my thing, and I just really didn't like what I saw. There's a lot of cowardice, too.
Could only imagine. And that's a shock education. I mean, you talk about like a no escape, just thrust into this completely volatile, chaotic world, and then introduced to a bunch of different people that you weren't around.
Yeah, and then when I got out, I got thrown into jail. It's in the book, too, you know.
What for?
For federal smuggling marijuana, coming back from Mexico.
How much did you have?
I had a few, just an ounce or two.
Really? That's it? Federal smuggling for an ounce or two?
I'd taken some Vietnamese grass home.
Oh, yeah?
But I never went home. I just went right to Mexico.
Oh.
So it was a few days later, I was in the jail.
Wow.
Called my father and said, "Hey, Dad, you know, I'm in trouble." He said, "Why haven't you called me? Where you been for the? We knew you got out 2 weeks ago at Fort Lewis." And I said, "Well," I said, "Dad, you want to hear where I'm at? You know, and blah, blah, blah." And he got me out. He got me out with some money.
Wow.
Without it, I would have been sunk into that prison. It was awful. Prison was filled with blacks and Latinos. I mean, there were 5,000 people in there for 2,000 beds. Wow. That was the beginning of the drug war. Nixon had been elected but had not yet declared the war on drugs, but it was filled. Most of them nonviolent crimes, you see.
Yeah.
And I saw that side of America coming out. So we have a lot of law and order types here.
Yes. Well, that law and order stuff was instituted when they passed that sweeping Psychedelics Acts of 1970.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Well, what they were trying to do is they were trying to squash the civil rights movement. Yeah. That's a big part of what they were trying to do. They were trying to make everything incredibly illegal, Schedule 1, so that they could have a reason to infiltrate these groups and start arresting people and break the groups up.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And J. Edgar Hoover was still around, unfortunately. He had a lot of influence on this. Marijuana had been the devil drug.
What a fascinating character he was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they never got him yet on movies.
No, God, almost impossible to really get. I really wish there was more. I mean, real personal footage of all the crazy shit that he was actually into.
Yeah,
we can get an understanding of how nuts it was that this guy was in charge of spying on people.
And Lyndon Johnson, you have to ask, you know, did Lyndon Johnson really believe the bullshit he was talking about? The black civil rights movement had a communist basis. That the communism was supporting it. I mean, that was very much Hoover's thesis.
Yeah. Well, that was a great way to get people motivated to see your side of things back then, you know.
Yeah.
During the whole Cold War scare and the Red Scare, it's like communism being a motivating factor for any group.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you think about on one hand, when you have children and you bring a child to the zoo, on one hand, it's really fascinating to watch this little person look at all these different animals and freak out and see how amazing it is. But that's the only pro, is introducing human beings, like little human beings in particular, to these animals. Everything else is a con, except for the animals that are like really endangered, and they protect them and help breed them, and then sometimes they're responsible for some reintroduction efforts. But other than that, it's an animal prison, man. It's weird.
I don't take the position or ideology. I'm not this person that's trying to represent an ideology necessarily. I'm not against all zoos, but I have to say that there's nothing more sad than seeing elephants, cats, bears. I mean,
cats, man.
The cats when they're pacing back and forth. I mean, just get them out of there. Whose purpose are you serving? Is that good for you? I mean, seeing an animal that's got zoocosis. I mean, it's a mental case.
And we don't know what the fuck's going on in their head, so we have no idea.
And most people just watch and think this is just maybe normal or something, right? A lot of people, we're not, see, because the veil is only now sort of coming off and people are sort of now getting the truth on the matters, you start to see things for what they are. I watched the video on YouTube some weeks ago, and it was Marineland in the 70s, and man, was this place busy. And the people were just, I mean, they were climbing over each other to be next to the pool. I've never seen anything like it. I worked there 12 years. I'd never seen the amount of people that this thing had. And when you looked in the pool, there's a bull orca he spans the literal length of the pool that he's in on the side with his dorsal fin over, and he's literally staring at the wall, not moving. And then you got two other massive orcas that are in this pool, like maybe 5 times the size of this room kind of thing. And the people are celebrating like it's, and the video has like this sort of quirky music, and it's kind of funny and fun. And I'm watching this going, what a disconnect of time. Like where you're looking at exactly what you see today in terms of the animals and the conditions that they're in. And yet here, these people, knowing nothing about it, just in the awe, the beauty, the majesty of these animals, the majestic nature of these animals, and yet we couldn't see for ourselves whatsoever how abusive and gross this was. It was really a weird and strange thing. But that's Marineland's a legacy business. They built themselves on having people come and experience the shock and awe of these animals, and they did very, very well. But that time is long gone now. Long gone.
I think we're going to come to a time in the future where people think the same way about zoos. I think it's we're going to realize, like, I get that you want to see them. I get it. I get you want to see them. I want to see them too. But god damn, we got to stop doing that. Like, this is no way. Also, the problem is humans don't have any real experience with animals. We have experience with dogs and cats, which are these domesticated, weird little fluffy friends. They are not animals. We don't have much experience with real animals. And even the animals that you have experience with, they're urbanized. You know, like pigeons that you can feed or squirrels that take peanuts from you. You get out into the world, and the world of the wild, of forests and mountains, and you see actual real animals, and it's almost psychedelic. There's like a weird like paradigm shift that goes through when you see a wild animal in the actual wild, like, oh, this is where it's supposed to be.
It kind of feels weird because you're in their world. You immediately adapt, because now you're like, oh, what? Because that the series of tools that animal has in its world that doesn't translate in captivity, for instance, is like, wait a second, that thing can spring on me, climb up mountain, like I'm in its world now. To me, that's the awe of the experience of witnessing animals, because since the year and a half that expired that from our last show, I had the gift of seeing dolphins in the wild. I went down to I can't remember what beach it was, but it was while I was in California, and that was my first experience, in fact. Again, I'm from a small place. And then this year I was able to go to Washington State and see orcas in the wild. Now, I've jumped off orcas' rostrums into the air so high that you're looking down into a Dixie cup to land. I mean, that's pretty awesome. But there's nothing like having seen a fucking bull orca with an 8-foot mass on his back swimming next to his mother and all the... my heart sunk into my stomach. I'd never seen anything more majestic. Wow. Yeah.
Well, I also think that this is what I've said this about law enforcement too. When you play a game, and here's the game. I arrest you. I want to convict you. Here's the game. You try to get out of it. I don't want you to get out of it. Now we're in competition. It's a game.
Yeah.
It's not a game. Obviously, it's the law, and obviously, people should be arrested. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying, but whenever someone is trying to do something and the other person doesn't want you to do something, people get competitive. And people withhold evidence. They lie. I mean, there's been so many fucking cases of prosecutors withholding evidence that could have people released.
Kenneth Nifong, in the Duke rape case.
Yeah.
Wasn't he didn't get disbarred for that, or he did some shady shit?
Well, there's a lot of those cases. It's not just him. I mean, how many different detectives have withheld evidence, prosecuting attorneys have withheld evidence? It's like, you know who's fucking amazing at helping people with this shit is Kim Kardashian.
Yes, she is.
Kim Kardashian has gotten I think it's like the latest count was like 18 people released who were unjustly accused of crimes.
Yeah.
Fucking insane, man.
Yeah, well, she kind of has, I mean, they kind of have like a direct line to the president, so they at least have some resource to go to if they need it.
Yeah, but
she's
she
doing
doesn't
amazing.
have to do that. That lady's worth fucking hundreds of millions of dollars. She could do whatever the fuck she wants. But she's doing that with her spare time. It's really incredible. I've completely stopped making fun of her.
Yeah, I respect the fact that she did that too. It's like she could be doing a lot more stuff with her time, and she's helping people. So
yeah.
I never really fucked with her that much. Paris Hilton had a bad interview with, so I didn't really care for her.
What, you had a bad interview on O&A?
Yeah, they told us be nice to her.
Who told you to be nice? The publicist?
Yeah, and we promised we wouldn't be confrontational. So I remember I watched the recent Opie filmed it. We weren't supposed to film it, but Opie had a camera going, and I was just getting really annoyed because she was being very distant. Like, so what happened? So you go to this store, right? And she's like, you have to watch it. And I'm like, that's not a way to promote, to tell people you have to watch it. So
this is when she had a television show?
Yeah. Sorry, I keep fucking with the mic. It's
No
a
worries.
terrible habit I have. It's my OCD just getting it just right.
Keep moving.
Yeah, it's really irritating me that I'm doing it. But it just wasn't a good interview. We wanted to be really cruel to her because I didn't think she was being nice. I thought she was being not nice to us, but we had promised we wouldn't. So it just came off as awkward and weird.
I forgot that she had a TV show. She's one that sort of slipped into obscurity on purpose, it seems like.
She's got a product line. She's making a fucking $1 billion a year. Like, she's making money doing her I think she's got like a whole bunch of stuff that's got her name on it. So
right, but it seems like she's taking herself out of the public eye. I think for a lot of them, they realize like, hey, this isn't good for you. You know, the sting of all this scrutiny and people hating you. People fucking hated her, man.
Yeah, they did.
She represented this vapid, sort of trend.
I wanted to like her, too. I did not want to dislike her for that reason. I'm like, it's too easy. Like, all these guys hate her. But then she came in, I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Because it wasn't pleasant. I didn't hate her. It was like, come on. That could have been better.
I wonder, like, what's the matter, Jamie?
So I was just looking. She's got a documentary coming out, or it just came out.
Oh, super important
Yeah.
to hear. Let's watch that documentary. Is Ada Lovelace has been called the world's first computer programmer. What she did was write the world's first machine algorithm for an early computing machine that existed only on paper. Of course, someone had to be the first, but Lovelace was a woman, and this was in the 1840s.
Damn.
Suck it, stupid people. Suck it. Ada was rocking shit in the 1800s. She was figuring it out. Imagine you'd be like, look, one day they're going to be able to do this, but right now they don't know how to do it. But if one day, if they just figure out how to do this is this, and we're going to have computers, and the computers will operate on this algorithm, and people like looking at you like, bitch, what the fuck are you talking about? Computers, like, imagine what a hell it would be to be a super, super genius living amongst the cave people. You're like, you fucks, we could be flying around if you assholes knew how to melt aluminum. Can you guys get me some glass? You don't know glass? Shit! Do you have any wires? You have no wire. Okay. Where'd you get your metal? You don't have metal? What? Shit! Can you imagine if you like were looking at metal in the ground, like, why don't they just pull the metal out and make things out of that? And they're all like, hey. And you're like, what's the point? What's the point in making a house? What's the point? What's the point in having glass windows that look out at these cave people fucking each other and stabbing mastodons in the dick with flint tip tools? Fuck. Imagine what the hell that would be. That would be like the worst thing you could do to somebody. Like, imagine if one day they come up with a time machine and one of the punishments for people that were real pieces of shit is you would throw them in front of Genghis Khan's horde in like 1200 AD. You would just like take your underwear, you're in your underwear, everybody knows it's going to happen. You have a chance to live. If you just might get lucky, you might teleport into the right spot and not get slaughtered and eaten by the Mongols as they come over the top of the hill. But we're going to put you right in front of them. And, good luck, you piece of shit. Fucking transport them in a time machine. I mean, if they do come up with the ability to do that to people one day, like an actual time machine, that would be the biggest hell ever Take a person from 2018 who's used to driving around in his Tesla and checking his text every 5 minutes, and no, we're going to let you live. We're going to let you live, but you're going to live in 1200 AD. No doctors. There's no doctors. What the fuck is a doctor? What are you talking about, man? You got to run. You got to run. They're coming over the hill. Don't you smell that? Yeah, that's people burning. You smell people burning. They're like candles. Run! Just fucking run, but you're alive. That was the punishment.
Yeah, that'd be fucked
You know?
up.
That would be crazy. Imagine if somebody raped you and you get to decide what year they come back.
Where they have to go.
Yeah. Well, just send this motherfucker back to the dinosaur era. Good luck, you cunt. And then they're gonna be by themselves 65 million years ago. How many people would say yes to that? Like, how many people say yes? Well, we could do one thing. Bernie Madoff. We could either put you in jail for the rest of your life, or you get freedom in prehistoric Central Asia.
What would you do?
I'd take the death by prehistoric Central Asia all
Yeah,
day.
you gotta fucking live.
All day.
You gotta live.
Throw me in Siberia. If
see
I
what
die
it
there,
is.
I die there.
Yeah.
But at least I'm not in a fucking cage until my heart stops beating.
100%.
I'd take that all day.
I'll roll the dice.
I'll roll the dice. It'll suck. I'll die for sure. But I'll die running, or trying to get away, or
Yeah,
or
you die
or I'll
quickly.
break a leg. I'm not going to die in that box. That's the craziest thing about you just decide when someone has crossed some line that we're going to take you out of circulation. And we're just going to cool you in this little cage, and we're going to hope you get better when we let you out in 15 years. Like, what a stupid idea.
It's not working. That's how you know it's a stupid idea.
It's
It's not working
the
for
idea.
anyone.
You want to protect people from violent offenders. That's primary, right? Violent offenders, people who want to rob people or murder people or rape people or assault people. That is like the number one thing is we want everybody to be safe. I love Jamie. I don't want Jamie to have to worry when he walks down the street that this guy that they locked up 10 times is going to jump out of the bushes and take his knees out with a baseball bat for no fucking reason other than he's crazy, right? You don't want that. Nobody wants that. So we all agree. You got to lock up rapists and murderers and all that. But after that, after you get past that, it's like, what good does it do to get that guy that cheated on his taxes? Why do you put him in a cage for a year? Why don't you let him work and pay you back? Like, why is he in a cage for a year? That seems like you're punishing him. Like you're just trying to torture him and steal a year of his life. But he just owes you money. He doesn't owe you a year of his life. How much is a year of your life worth? It's worth fucking billions of dollars. A year of your life? Fuck you, man. You can't take a year of someone's life. That's crazy. But if you owe taxes, they go, I'd like a year of your life, sir.
Or if you're fucking selling plants.
Selling plants, or worse, you're one of those people that didn't send the envelope and you're trying to bring some of that 4,000 pounds of cocaine over.
What would be a good deterrent for to stop someone?
I don't think
from doing,
there's. I think education is the real deterrent. You have to catch them, and there has to be punishment. Like if you owe people money, there should be reparations. You should if you were involved in some sort of a banking scheme and you rip people off, you should have to pay those people back. Period. You should be responsible for that. After that, you're assuming that someone's capable of growing, and sometimes we don't like to do that. It's very convenient to assume that someone is in a static state and they're never going to grow. Oh, this old banker asshole, he's just a rich old cunt, and this is how he's going to die. Fuck him. There's that thing, but he's a human being, and even if he lived his life fucking people over on those those weird mortgage situation loans that were going on, what were those things called? Those
short stuff.
Adjustable arm.
Yeah, the adjustable mortgages that people got fucked on because they signed up for them and they were a really low rate, and then all of a sudden the rate jacked up through the roof, and they were just inevitably going to lose their house. And this was like something that people knew about it beforehand. Even the people that organized that kind of shit, even knowing they can grow. It's a horrible thing they did. But to say that they're done, fuck them, lock them up forever. My grandma lost her house. It's terrible that your grandma lost her house, and whoever the fuck benefited from your grandma losing the house, they should all have to give that money back too. We should figure out how the fuck did they allow these banks to weasel people like that? You're not looking out for anybody's best interest when you do something like that. And obviously they didn't know the rates were going to get as high as they got, where people were in terrible situations, but they should have known something was coming.
You hit the point though that they should have fucking been paid back.
Yeah, they should have been paid back.
None of those fucking people got paid back. It doesn't matter how long you lock them up for. Like, nobody fucking got their house back.
Yeah,
everyone got fucked over.
And even people that were involved in the organizations that were probably responsible in part for the recession, which fucked everything up, those people all got bonuses when there was bailouts. The whole thing is...
The bailout should have been for fucking everybody who lost their home.
For sure. It shouldn't... The bailout most certainly shouldn't have gone to... I know that they have to pay these people these bonuses because these bonuses are in their contract, but that's still crazy. Still crazy, even if it's in the contract. I mean, the government's got to bail you guys out. You guys are a failed business. This bank's a failed business, and you're still going to try to claim that you guys did so well that you need a bonus? Like, this is great. And you're going to take that taxpayer money and apply it to your bonus. So all those poor people out there working $50,000 a year, you're going to just take a giant... What's a good one for one of those guys? What's a good one? What's a good bonus? What do you think is like the biggest bonus that one of those banker guys got during the bailout,
Like
if you had to guess?
300 million?
Is it that high?
That's a lot.
I don't think it's that high.
I got it.
30 million at least.
That's what the JP Morgan guy got last year.
30
What did
million?
you get? 30?
Last year, yeah.
Oh,
30
but
million
wait a
bonus.
minute. No, we're not in a recession, though.
you wanna
Like, they were getting it at the end of Bush's term, right? So that was 2009?
2008, he got 16 million.
Someone got 16 million.
Same guy.
So he got 16 million during the bailouts. Well,
In his worst year, he got 20 million.
baller. What do you think his house looks like? It's probably made out of cocaine. It's probably like an igloo.
Just walks by and licks the walls.
Here's the real question. You give the average person 25 million bucks, they don't have to work again ever. You know, if this guy's making 20 million bucks every year or more, probably with all these bonuses, right? Like when do you get out? Like, how much do you have to have in the bank before you go, you know what? I'm just going to fucking live frugally and never work again.
That guy does not need to live frugally.
He doesn't even.
Any of
but
that
I mean,
fucking money.
For most folks, like, what's the number that you'd have to get to where you're like, check, please?
Yeah, I don't know what whatever that driving force is, though, to attain that doesn't just magically go away. You know, it's not like you get to that point and you're like, all right, now I can retire. Like, what do you fucking do in retirement? Look at the people who continue to work. You have 1,000 things you love to do, right?
Yeah.
And you're good at them and you're obsessed with them. Other people don't have that. All they know is their job. All they know is to work, and they have a hard time integrating when they come out of that. You know, you have to have something that gives your life meaning and purpose.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard for people to take up new hobbies too, but really fun. That's the thing about learning stuff, getting good at stuff when you suck. There's a little, there's a period in the beginning where it's frustrating, but if you do like anything, no matter what it is, especially physical stuff, something about getting good at things, it's very rewarding, Not enough people go through that. Not enough people, I think, try new shit out. And I think there's also new pathways that get opened in your brain the more you try something new that you suck at. And when you start off from that beginner phase and try to, like, put it together. And I think the little journey of the beginner phase getting good, I think we should try something new once a year. I really do. I mean, maybe more. But for me, it can't be more than once a year because I get too crazy about stuff. For me, once a year is like I might be able to squeeze something in once a year and try it out for a little while and not let it overcome all the things I'm already crazy about.
How often do you go hunting?
Well, it's usually in the fall for elk, and then usually we do something in the early spring. We go to Lanai and we hunt for act. Hey, let me ask you this: what do you think of Bill Maher?
I've never been a Bill Maher fan.
What do you think of this whole recent controversy?
Of him just casually dropping an N-bomb?
Yeah.
He was trying to make a joke.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't work, but
I got it.
he was trying to be naughty.
Yeah, that's all.
But they're making it seem like it's something more.
Anytime it's words are like, you said this, it's like, yeah, said, not did. Did is worse.
But it's also...
Does he not hire black people? That's a major issue if he's never hired a black person. But I don't think I've heard that, so it's like his actions aren't.
We were talking about before the podcast this thing where they were talking about the Clintons in Arkansas, in the governor's mansion.
Yeah.
What show was that? What show was it? Did you see it, Jamie?
I read it. I didn't see it on a show.
Oh, you read it?
It was getting passed around the internet yesterday. I'll pull it up.
It's got to be Russian disinformation.
It could be. Who knows?
But apparently, it was about
when Bill Maher, when they go like troubling from Bill Maher, I mean, I get it. Even the Republican senator that he was there with was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a little uncomfortable with this, but sure, be uncomfortable. And if I'm watching a guy who uses words that make me uncomfortable all the time, I'll stop watching, I guess. You know?
Twitter erupts over news that Hillary Clinton used black prison labor while First Lady of Arkansas.
Newsweek.com.
And what does it have to do with JFK?
I don't know.
JFK pushed the Democrat right in 1969.
It pushed them to the right, and Hillary Clinton did it in 2016.
Huh.
I don't know.
Why is that Luke doing that? Here's that quote.
Okay, when we moved in, I was told that using prison labor at the governor's mansion was a long-standing tradition which kept down cost. Clinton writes, she adds that most of the workers were convicted murderers, and she became friendly with, in quotes, a few of them, African-American men in their 30s who had already served 12 to 18 years of their sentences. Ooh. Despite their alleged friendships with these men, Clinton tells her readers, we enforced rules strictly and sent back to prison any inmate who broke a rule. Despite having no psychological qualifications, she later asserts that these men did not have inferior IQs or an ability to apply moral reasoning, but instead they may have been emotional illiterates. Emotional illiterates.
I don't know. That's what she's saying.
But I like how it says, despite having no psychological qualifications,
Yeah.
she later asserts.
Despite having no ability to say this, she said, yeah.
It's kind of weird, though, that,
Slave labor.
yeah, that is exactly what that is. I mean,
No, but it's this tradition. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean you should do it.
let's be honest, like, how much are they getting paid?
Zero. What, fucking one pack of cigarettes a week?
Yeah, what do they get? They do not pay inmates at all. Oh, Jesus Christ. Clinton makes no mention of whether or not these men received any money for working for her and her husband. A 2016 article from Mother Jones notes that when it comes to prison labor, some states include Texas, Arkansas, and Georgia do not pay inmates at all. Holy fuck. On Twitter, Jing wrote that Hillary Clinton was a direct participant in what Sam Sway?
Yeah.
It's at Sam Sway on Twitter, I guess, correctly described as modern slavery. 100%.
Yeah.
Dude, that's 100% slavery. If you don't pay someone, you make them work because they did a crime. That's a crazy thing. Like,
We don't let them vote.
but you're making them work. That's what's crazy about it. It's like, it's not just that your freedom's taken away and they lock you in a box, but they also make you work.
Saying your lives aren't worth anything. We can make you do whatever we want.
Like, I always wondered about that the Catch a Predator show.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would they they have to sign a release?
Do they?
Yes. Or cops. They have to sign a release.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to sign a release. So how?
Yeah. And then there's like is it entrapment even? You know, there was that whole thing too.
Well, that show's definitely entrapment.
Yeah.
But it's entrapment I support.
Yeah, totally.
I support entrapment if it's like,
Yeah,
hey, do you
yeah.
want to fuck a 6-year-old?
100%.
And they're like, yeah, I do. Okay, get in the cage, you fucking piece of shit.
That's right.
Yeah, there's certain entrapment that
Yeah.
I'm all for.
No,
Someone could
I
talk
agree.
you into fucking anybody under 18.
Right.
Or
But
17.
how do they get away with that?
How do they get away with it?
Showing their face. Maybe because they were proven guilty. Then you waived your rights, but just by being guilty, you have no rights when you're a
think
felon,
so.
right?
I think you
when you're a
actually-
felon, you have no rights. Is that right?
Well, you have rights. Bernie Sanders wants you to be able to vote even if you're a terrorist. Have you seen that? He's like, anybody in jail for anything.
Yeah.
He's like, you should still be able to vote. I'm like, ooh, okay.
Okay,
I don't know. There's a lot of people in jail.
that's true.
What if they count as residents of the state? Like, what if you have like a maximum security prison somewhere, right? And these prisoners have everything to, like, they have all day, right?
Yeah.
They don't have anything to do. And they register to vote while they're in there. If you have a few 100,000 prisoners,
Yeah,
you literally can shift an election one way or the other.
that's true.
All you'd have to do is get into that prison and go, hey, guys, here's the deal. I'm for shortening your fucking sentences. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm for getting you better lawyers. People would start campaigning in prisons.
That's true.
That's legit, man.
Yeah.
Like these laws are bullshit.
And
man.
you can bribe them real easy with the little ketchup.
cigarettes. Bring in cigarettes. Yeah, you just truck in cartons of cigarettes.
How'd you win this election? Marlboro Reds.
What's that guy's name? Buttigieg. What's his name?
Oh, yeah.
How do you say his name?
Yeah, you got it.
Tulsi Gabbard's my girl. I'm voting for her. I decided. I like her. I met her in person.
Who is it? I don't know.
I give up. I'm not even paying attention to anything else. Tulsi Gabbard. But if you could go into a prison, like what's a giant prison population? Like what's the biggest prison?
one? I don't know.
What do you think the biggest one is?
The biggest one? I don't know. Would it be in New York? California?
Was that isn't there a giant one in Colorado that Joey always talks about?
Probably.
That's the one when they take the serial killers, they stuff them on the ground. Isn't there? What is the?
Well, then what's the biggest one?
Let's take a
50,000
guess before he looks it up.
Okay.
Do you say 50,000 prisoners?
Yeah, I don't know much about that.
That's probably a lot of people. Think about
50,000
an arena,
spread
a
out.
football arena.
Right. Yeah.
What's a
That's true. Okay. Well, no. Okay. 50 to 60,000. The biggest one.
The biggest, yeah.
What's the smallest?
It's probably some
Otis.
rinky-dinky ones, but I bet. I'm gonna
Have
say
you been in jail?
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to say a little lighter. I'm going to say 30,000. I'm going to say 30,000 is the biggest.
Will you put money on this?
I'll put $1 on this. I don't give a fuck, bro.
I'll put $2.
I'll bet you a Heineken 00.
Shit.
What
No,
do we got,
that's too
Jamie?
rich for my blood.
What do we got? Jamie's confused.
Well, I have to be very specific about what I look up to find this answer. So, do you want largest maximum security?
Sure. Yeah. Killers, not
Okay.
people who smoke weed.
Known as Alcatraz of the South, the Louisiana State Penitentiary
here we go.
has an inmate population of 5,000.
That's it?
Wow.
Damn, we're way
We're
off.
way
That's
off.
maximum security. So, like, if
That's
you go,
like super criminals.
Yes, if you go a little bit less,
Okay.
then it might be a little bit higher. But
Okay. Let's go with thieves. Let's go with medium security. What's maximum is like violent
What's
crimes,
just the
right?
biggest prison?
Yeah. The biggest prison.
that's what I looked
Yeah.
up. Largest prison. That's the thing that popped up. So
Okay.
I
Damn.
tried to give you. I have to look
Maybe
up
we're
something
way
more
off.
Specific.
5,000 is a lot of
Sometimes it
people.
looks
So, yeah,
bigger.
ADX in Florence, the Supermax prison. There's one Supermax prison. That's the one I think you're talking about. So that's
Okay.
even higher, but that would probably have way less people. I'm trying to see if it says.
Oh, that's even higher criminal
Yeah.
level?
Yeah.
That was like where they put the Iceman.
23 hours a day,
Dun, dun, dun.
single cell confinement. Man, it doesn't
5,000 is a lot of people.
Confinement is so weird. Because like we're killing you, but we're just killing you with nature. We're gonna kill you with old age and shitty nutrition. Mm-hmm. We're
Yeah.
just gonna keep you in a box.
Kill with your own brain.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's like it might be more cruel to put someone into a small cage for 23 hours a day than it is to just kill them.
I think so.
Yeah,
If you just kill you, it's over with.
yeah,
I mean,
you're
you linger
suffering.
that. It's suffering.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like that was my take on Chelsea Manning, who's now free.
Yeah.
Like they tortured her. They tortured her.
They did.
Yeah, she was naked in a cage by herself for years.
Oh.
I think it was like the whole. She was in solitary. We'll have to find this out once Jamie's done with this search.
I'm like looking around. There's the one in California is male only, where Manson is. It's got 3,500. There's one in Illinois, medium security. It's got 1,000.
Okay,
Man,
so
we were way off.
We're way off.
Way
Yeah.
off.
By a factor.
We
of-
were so pessimistic.
I thought it was going low, and I was off by a
It
factor
says
of 10.
I don't know if this is counting then too. There's private ones, and I don't know if I can get the numbers on private.
Those dirty bastards stuff them in on top of each other. There's probably
Although
millions.
it makes sense if there were 30,000 inmates in one place. I mean, it would be hard to contain that and control that.
Yeah, what's the largest private prison? See if that's one thing he has done though is it's going to sound ridiculous, but when he has Kim Kardashian bring in cases of people that were unjustly prosecuted or unjustly imprisoned, and he releases them, like I like that. I like that she does it, and I like that he does it.
It takes a lot for me to get angry, but when people were clowning them, and I'm like, Kim Kardashian, you can say a lot of shit about her. She saved people's lives.
She's helping people in a tremendous way.
You're going to tell those families that it's Kim
Look at
Kardashian?
this.
Fuck you.
She's helped 17 people be released from prison in the last 3 months.
And I think it's also very disturbing how glib a lot of people are about prison.
Yeah.
And it's a really I don't know what it's like, and I don't want to know what it's like.
You don't want to
It's
know
no
what it's
joke.
like. Yeah.
But it is a punchline. And it's like you're laughing about people being traumatized for life and possibly having no possibility of returning to society.
People used to be able to laugh about stuff like that because it would be like laughing at it at work. You know, like you go to work and you're like, hey, OJ's in the can and he's going to take it in the can. You would go to work and you'd say something stupid like that and it wouldn't go anywhere. But when you say something like that on Twitter or Facebook, like, whew, boy. You know, I was reading this horrible story about even after slavery was abolished, one of the things that they would do was they would capture black men for loitering and force them into going into labor camps. Mm-hmm. So they would literally enforce slavery, but do slavery by having them in prison and forcing them to do labor. Now, the reason why I bring this up, right now, there was a garbage workers strike, and so they brought in prisoners. Find out where this is. I don't remember where it was, but I was reading and I was like, what in the fuck? So these guys, the garbage men, made $10 an hour. They fired all the striking garbage men and brought in prisoners to do this. Here it is. Prison labor replaces striking garbage workers in New Orleans. Stop and think about that. They said, you know what? You want more than $10 an hour? I got a better idea. We'll get people to do it for free. So they're essentially reigniting slavery in New Orleans when it comes to taking care of garbage.
Yeah. I mean, it's still around.
But the fact that they think that's okay, that this is like, well, I got a solution.
Yeah.
And the fact that you don't think someone should get more than $10 an hour to fucking take care of people's garbage. It's insane. It's insane. And bringing in literally slaves.
Yeah.
Well, they shouldn't have done that. They would be paid only 13% of what garbage makers. So the garbage workers who are only making $10.25 an hour. So they're going to get 13% of that, which is, what is that? $1. Is that like $1.50?
It's lower than that. It's like 75 cents, right?
It's about $1 probably.
$1?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Maybe $1.30.
Fuck.
I mean, that's just modern day slavery.
It is slavery.
Yeah.
I mean, giving them $1, that's insane.
But some people would say, they're inmates. They did wrong. That's right.
Hold on, but we'll scroll back up there. Listen to this. Metro Services Group has long been an advocate of helping persons who had been incarcerated return to society in a meaningful and productive way, said the city sanitation services in a statement. Metro makes no apologies for this policy as a core element of our commitment to being good corporate citizens. Under state rules, prison inmates employed by Metro Services will be paid only 13% of what garbage workers make. Fuck.
What's a corporate citizen?
What does that mean?
I have no idea.
But that is so crazy. It's weird because there's no end of the quotation marks.
I mean, did it go through? How long
did it happening?
Oh, fuck.
This is happening. Despite the use of inmates, garbage workers say they will continue to strike in New Orleans. They have built widespread community. Spreads from unions and community groups, but still, that doesn't even make any sense. They have built widespread community spreads.
From unions and community groups. But
what a weird sentence. From unions and community groups, but still, the city has refused to meet them and discuss their safety concerns.
So they have a lot of support from unions in the community.
Yeah,
but
okay.
They won't meet with them still.
Oh, I see. They've built widespread community. I think they want to say have built widespread community support.
From
unions and community groups.
Yeah.
They wrote spreads instead of support, I think, and said that they aren't trying to hear us. Says Woods. They don't care about us. They would let anything happen. Ugh, this is awful.
See, I mean,
if they were sick, we don't care. They don't care if we spread the disease. They just don't care. Yeah, I mean, just a human being making $10 an hour to do a full-time job is fucking insane. It's insane. And a grown man in a union that can't get more than $10 an hour, how fucking crazy is that?
This is what we're living in. And I often wonder, I always think about your 3 people ago, and I go, how long is it going to take? How many people from us is it going to take? You know, I'm like maybe 5, maybe 6 if the world is still around.
Well,
because there will always be racism, some racism.
Not necessarily always, because we could get to a point where we're indistinguishable, right?
Yes, I get you. But
know,
they'll find another
They'll
thing.
find something else.
It'll be classism.
Yeah. Classism, or it'll be a financial thing or an intelligence thing. You know, unless they get to genetic engineering, unless genetic engineering reaches a point where literally there is no disparity in human beings in terms of intelligence, looks, all those things. But what is that going to be like? I mean, there's always going to be competition. There's always going to be weirdness, right? There's always, there's always going to be those women that can bounce back from pregnancy quicker. There's always going to be men like, super geniuses where knuckleheads like us are scratching our head going, how the fuck did they even think of that? I always think that every time I talk to Elon, every time I have that dude in here, I'm like, life isn't fair. How's it fair? I'm so much dumber than him. And I sit down and talk to him. It's like him talking to a chimp. Like, it's like he's talking to a toddler. Like,
but you can lift more weights.
Oh, I'll fuck him up. If we had a fight to the death, I'm the one who's going to walk out of the room like,
there you go.
Sorry I had to kill him. But he's so much smarter than me. Like, it's not even close. He's a large man, too. He's bigger than me, too. He's, the world's not fair, right? And unless we figure out a way to make it fair, which is almost impossible.
You can't.
There's going to be prejudice. There's going to be disparity. Like we were talking about before, when you meet someone who can give you a lesson and express something in a way that makes you reconsider your own ideas that you hold sacred.
I mean, I'll give you an example. When I met my wife 30 years ago, I wasn't pro death penalty, but I would say neutral to the death penalty. I would be like, Ted Bundy, the state can put him to death. And I had all the kind of conventional reasons, or I didn't really care. He's a vile person. He killed all these people. He tortured them. If the families will get any relief, whatever, that's fine. I had some concerns because I was a statistician about conviction of the innocent, and I support the Innocence Project, and I am very concerned with police brutality. I have for years been advocating the racializing of police brutality is vile and abhorrent and must be firmly resisted. I think that the prosecutorial misconduct, the way prosecutors lie and put people in prison. There have been many cases of people on death row who are innocent. That should offend our conscience. So even back then, I had some concerns about the death penalty because I recognize that we can't be perfect. We're going to convict some innocent people and also let some guilty people go free. That's not as bad as putting to death the innocent, but they're both bad. So I had that concern about the death penalty, but otherwise I was like, it's okay. My opinions have totally changed. I'm completely opposed to the death penalty now for many reasons, not just the statistical reason, but also I think it's immoral. I don't think the state should put to death. I think we can deprive you of liberty. I think we can make sure you're not a threat to society. We can lock you up for the rest of your life. But I think the state should not be taking people's lives in that way.
There's something extraordinarily strange about locking someone up. It's very strange.
Well, we have a carceral state. I mean, we lock up our fraction of people incarcerated, I think, is the same as Stalinist Russia. And we have very long prison sentences, which are nuts. You don't need them for deterrence.
Especially for nonviolent drug offenses.
Especially for all nonviolent offenses should have much shorter prison. We should have higher certainty of punishment. A higher fraction of people who have actually committed a crime should be punished. But I think we could cut in half or less the duration of the sentences. I think you'll be able to deter criminals from doing things with a 3-month sentence if they are very confident that they will be convicted if they're caught. Whereas now we have a system where most are not convicted, like this Jussie Smollett thing, which is just ridiculous in the news.
Yes.
And which therefore, and only a tiny fraction are convicted. But they're given huge long sentences. It's like they're paying the sentence for everyone that didn't.
Yes.
It doesn't make any sense. And it's expensive. It ties up our prison system. Actually, can I go to tell you another story?
Sure.
So there's a situation a few years ago when there's a very famous director and writer by the name of David Simon, who I consider a friend. He did The Wire. He was a showrunner for a bunch of other very famous, wonderful TV programs. He started his career actually as a reporter in Baltimore. He was a beat reporter and then went on to become a writer, did The Wire and so forth. And he told a story, actually at Yale, to students about how he had just come back from a summit. President Obama was still president, where he was trying to help the students to see that you can find common ground with your political opponents and that you need to listen to them and talk to them in order to find that ground. And so he told the following story. He said, I just came back from Camp David, where there was a meeting about how to reduce incarceration in our society. And he said the Koch brothers were there, and the students all hissed. And Newt Gingrich was there, and the students all hissed. And a bunch of liberal people were there, and the students were really happy about that. And then they said, well, why did you go? How could you associate yourself with those evil people? And he said, look, the conservatives want to reduce incarceration because it's expensive. The liberals want to reduce incarceration because it's unjust. And the libertarians want to reduce incarceration because the state shouldn't be depriving people of liberty. And I can find common ground with these people and reduce incarceration. Why would I not talk to them? And the students didn't seem to understand that. They were like, they couldn't get it.
That's why they shouldn't be able to vote.
Yeah, voting age should be 30.
Yeah, I think it should be 25.
Something. I mean, and so I don't know how we got onto this. Like talking to you is so much fun because it's like we're all over the place. But how did I come up with this example? We were talking about talking to your political enemies, was it, or something else?
Yes, we were talking about people telling you that you shouldn't associate with people that have varying opinions.
Yes, and we were talking about incarceration and prison sentences and so forth. So we have a horrible problem in our society with incarceration. A larger fraction of our populace is incarcerated. We deprive, after you've paid your debt to society, we often have these we deprive you of your right to vote, which I think is wrong. You've paid your debt to society. You should be able to re-enter society.
You're
That's
paying
the point.
Taxes. You're part of our community.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You were in prison for 10 years. That's enough.
Yeah.
Now we want you to feel a part of society again. We want to welcome you back if we have that vision of justice.
Well, how about the registered sex offender?
That's a serious problem, especially for crimes. These crazy cases which offend my conscience.
Well, I know a guy who got charged as a registered sex offender because he urinated outside.
Yeah, that's
nuts. Got caught in the South urinating outside.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's just prosecutorial abuse. Or, you have these Romeo and Juliet laws, which are not in every state now, thank God. Alas, they are not in every state. You have a 16-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl. There have to be exceptions for that kind of sexual practice.
Yes.
They're exchanging sexually explicit images. They should not be considered sex offenders for the rest of their lives. That's nuts. So all of those things. But the problem is not only do we have a huge fraction of people in prison, we have extremely long prison sentences compared to many European countries for the same crime, and it's costly, it's unjust, it's ineffective. I think we should change the policies on this, and maybe we will.
Yeah, there's also the idea of reforming them. They're not using all the tools within their disposal. They're not really giving a good attempt at it. And I just don't think it does anything other than make their life hell for a short period of time, which we hope deters them from doing future crime.
Well, they're different. There's the justice, there's deterrence, there's safety, right? Like, so violent criminals that we put in jail, we need to do that. I mean, I'm not interested in being killed by somebody who, could have killed someone else. She should have been in jail for a while. 20 years, some amount of time.
For murder?
Yeah, for murder.
You think 20 years is enough?
Well, European standards are about 20 years, actually. And they're different things. Like, if you want to deprive them, if your vision is they're being punished for the killing of a life, therefore they've surrendered their life, it's sort of eye for an eye kind of justice, they would be the rest of their lives in jail.
Yes.
And, we can debate whether that's reasonable or not. If you want to provide a public safety reason, people often age out of their violence. So a lot of men, typically, we're talking mostly about men who do these things, by the time they're in their 40s or 50s, they're much less violent. Testosterone declines. They get older and wiser. They're not interested in that kind of criminal behavior. Many of them are not. So that suggests you don't need life sentences for murder. And I think it also depends. And we have gradations of murder. We have like the impulsive stuff, the intent matters, the planfulness matters, the depravity matters. All of these things are factors. And I don't think we should have a one-size-fits-all incarceration for murder. Yes, that's my opinion. What do you think?
I think it depends entirely on the circumstance. If two men are engaged in some sort of a dispute and one winds up killing the other one, That's a big difference between that and someone breaking into your house and killing your daughter.
Yes, correct. And I also think even in that, like I really am opposed to these stand your ground laws. I think those are, if you have the opportunity to avoid conflict and to avoid, you are not, I would prefer as a state to require that you walk away, even if it makes you feel embarrassed, then give you the right to kill someone for offending you. And those videos of the guys that shot the guy on his knees in the parking lot I forgot what state it was, like not long ago, a year or two ago, they got into an altercation in the parking lot. Like if I have words with someone in a parking lot,
shot a guy on his knee.
Yes, there was no threat to him, and he was not prosecuted on the stand your ground argument, which is nuts.
Why was the guy on his knees?
I forgot. He said, "Don't shoot me" or something.
Oh Jesus!
So it was crazy.
And he didn't get prosecuted for that?
I don't think so. We can look up the facts.
Okay.
There were several cases like this. But like I remember when I was doing Shotokan karate, my sensei Kazumi Tabata, this was years ago, 30 years ago now, and he told us the following story. He said there was a sensei in this village in Japan, and the students were coming to the dojo, and there was the best student, and then all the other students, and they were walking through the village, and they approached a horse that was on the street from the rear, and it startled the horse. And as the horse reared up and kicked its leg, the best student instantly did a kind of an avoidance, kind of twisted his body and avoided the kick, and the horse's leg went right in front of him, and all the other students were amazed at his ability. And they get to the dojo and they tell the sensei, this is my sensei telling me this story, telling all of us this story. And those students get to the dojo and they tell the sensei the story, marveling at the ability of this master student to deftly avoid the strike. And the sensei is very angry. And they don't understand why. Why is he so angry? He said if he were a really good student of mine, he would have walked on the other side of the street. He would have avoided the horse altogether. So the real wisdom is to avoid avoidance of conflict in the first place. There's no reason to seek out conflict.
Yeah.
And so on these stand your ground laws, if the choice is either you just avoid the conflict, someone swore at you or called you an asshole or was an unreasonable jerk, that doesn't give you the right to kill them.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know how we got onto this as well. How do we get
Death penalty?
For crimes for murder.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, there are different gradations. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know how much of a deterrent it is locking people up. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure if that actually stops people from doing things.
I think it stops some people. I think there have been academic research on this.
I just don't think there's any real rehabilitation other than personal choice. I mean, I think the real rehabilitation comes from someone making a personal choice to never be that person
again. Be that way again, yes.
But for most of them, you're being locked up with a bunch of hardened criminals,
yes.
and that's your community.
But you're not suggesting we have a society in which when you commit violent acts, we do nothing.
No, I'm not. No, I'm suggesting
you're struggling with this, is what you're saying.
Yeah, the concept of nuance is,
yes.
This is applied here better than anywhere else, I think.
I got the impression looking at your face a moment ago when I told my sort of sweet sensei Japanese karate story that you didn't agree necessarily with that.
That's a very wise way of looking at it. Yeah, don't be near a fucking horse that wants to kick you. Very smart. Yeah, get out of there. Oh, I'm a big believer in avoiding conflict. Yeah. I'm the first guy to
I'm talking about physical conflict, not intellectual conflict,
right?
Yeah,
exactly. Physical conflict.
Words and violence are different, right?
Acts extremely different. Yeah, I mean, intellectual conflict, I think, is actually important, and you learn from it.
Yes.
Very rarely do you learn too much. You learn, don't do that again. That's what you learn from physical conflict.